Another day, another link, and Derby County today have been linked with Josh Windass of Sheffield Wednesday. His contract is set to expire at the end of the current season, and he is on his way out unless they can agree new terms. Shall we get into the video, talk about the links, and if Derby are actually in the running? So here is Josh Windass. A lot of you will know this player from his time playing against Derby County versus playing against Derby for Sheffield Wednesday and other teams along that ilk. And he's one of those players that he grabs the headlines when he does something. He's scored some really good goals over his career, and he's one of those players that you'd want to have in your team, in my opinion. I think he's one of those players that gets in opposition heads, and he really knows how to play sort of the dark arts of football, and that's something which Derby County have been missing for years and years and years, and he is a guy that can do that. So if we get further on in, he is 30 years old, which obviously is sort of out of the age range that we're really looking for, but obviously in the midfield area, in the forward areas, we don't have many players at all at the moment anyway, let alone any with experience. So I can see deals happening for players 30 and above. Obviously not as many as below that. And obviously, as I previously mentioned, he's currently at Sheffield Wednesday. His contract does expire this summer, which makes this a very possible deal for Derby County. And I think that it is a deal that we will probably be looking at. Now, if we do look at his career, he's played at 4 clubs: Accrington Stanley, Wigan Athletic, Rangers and Sheffield Wednesday. He's made a total of 350 career appearances, totaling 21,136 minutes, scoring 97 goals, collecting 47 assists. And in that time, he's also collected 31 yellows and 1 red card. As you can see, he's spent the longest time period. Well, he's collected the most appearances throughout his time at Sheffield Wednesday, where he scored 40 goals in 135 appearances. 23 in 86 at Accrington Stanley and 19 in 73 at Rangers. Now, he also puts up some quite good assist numbers with 17 in 135 at Sheffield Wednesday, 13 in 86 at Accrington and 13 in 73 at Rangers. Now, obviously, he did also spend time at Wigan, where he played 56 games, 9 goals and 4 assists. Now, what type of player is he? Where does he fit? Now, as you can see, he's a very, very versatile player and fits exactly what Paul Warne is wanting, in my personal opinion. Now, you look at the likes of Jake Rooney, who can play holding midfield, centre-back, right-back. You've then got the likes of Kane Wilson, who can play right-back, left-back, wing-back, right wing. You've got Joe Ward, who can play all up the right. You've got Nyambi, who can play on the right and centre-half. Now, for me, I think he is the exact sort of player which Paul Warne wants. He can play up front, he can play in the 10, he can play on the right, on the left, he can play at wing back, he can play in the centre of the park and dictate play. And for me, I think it would be a good signing. I think it would really add some experience in those midfield areas. I think it would also give an opportunity for someone like him to sort of be an ever-present, in my opinion, because when you can play that many positions, so long as you are fit and healthy, you're always going to be in the squad, in my opinion. Because for me, you look at someone like Louis Sibley, who can play in the number 10 and play at left wing back or left back. And it's things like that. When you can play multiple positions, you stand more chance of getting in the squad because you've got more opportunities. You obviously got Tom Barkhazen, who's obviously out of contract, who can play across the front 4, right, left, 10 and up front. Obviously, he is out of contract, so he might not be staying for next season, but it's players of those sort of calibre that can be versatile across the front line, versatile across midfield, that get into your squad and are able to play the majority of games. And I think it shows in his career with how many games he's played. Now, at 30 years old, is he going to be able to do sort of the box-to-box type of play which Paul Warne wants? Now, that is the big question, but he might not be able to do that, but is he going to be able to do other things? Like we saw towards the back end of our promotion season from League One, that Corey Smith next to Ebo Adams, Corey Smith would sort of sit in and dictate play, letting Ebo Adams and whether that be Liam Thompson or Tom Barkhazen or Max Bird rat about in midfield and win all the balls, whereas he'd just sit in, dictate the tempo, dictate the play. And I think having someone who's capable of doing that, which I believe Josh Windass to be capable of doing that, I think it would be a fairly decent signing. Now, do I think he's going to want to sit in? Probably not. Will he want to play probably in behind a striker? Maybe so. But the fact that he can play such a range of different positions sort of opens up the door for where he's going to fit in the team. Now, as I am recording this video on the 13th of May at 10 o'clock in the morning, we have not yet released our retained list. So this is what the current squad is looking like. Now, he fits in a couple of areas. So he fits in that midfield two with Warne, where Warne is. Obviously, we could have other players in that area, but right now we don't. He can obviously play right and left, but probably won't be in that area. And he can also play where Mendez-Laing and Blackett-Taylor are. Obviously, his preferred position, based on what I've seen, would be one of those two midfield roles, or maybe the 10 in a 3-5-2 or a 4-2-3-1. So it would be interesting to see how Paul Warne does fit him into the squad. But I do think there's obviously space for him. You look at the squad, it is lacking numbers, especially in the midfield area. And even at centre-half, I think we need at least one to come in. Obviously, we do have Nyambi who can play there and Rooney. So for me, I think the signing of Josh Windass would definitely fill a hole that we have in our current midfield. And I do think that he's going to be capable of, obviously, playing at championship level. He's just done it with Sheffield Wednesday. He's done it in the past. Like, he's played for Rangers. Like, he's not a terrible footballer. He knows how to play football. And I think he'd be a massive, massive player to have within the squad, even if he's not a starter, if that makes sense. Now, what type of deal could be on the cards for Josh Windass? Now, his contract is expiring and he is in talks with Sheffield Wednesday over a potential new deal. However, we all know that those talks can break down, other clubs can come in. Now, there is outside interest from a range of different clubs. Are Derby the front runners? Probably not. Are Derby going to be able to offer the most money? Again, probably not. Now, at 30 years old, I think it's sort of that time period where it's going to be a shorter deal, sort of a 1, maybe 2-year deal at most for me, because then you can reassess it in a year. If he's on a 2-year deal, you can reassess it in a year, find him a loan move out if need be. If he's on a 2-year deal, obviously, if it's a year and he's sort of not cutting the mustard, you can just move away. Now, do I think this is a smart deal? I personally think, judging by his versatility and the player that I've seen of Josh Windass in previous games versus Derby County, obviously, I can't say I've watched him vigorously, but for me, I think it would be a good deal. Can play a range of different positions. He'd fit well within the squad for me, and with having 9 substitutes in the Championship, I think it's massive to have players who can play here, there and everywhere, because then you can sort of have a centre-half, you can have one full-back, you can then have someone like Windass who can play across the front 3, across the midfield 4, and someone like that. And obviously then you can have someone along the likes of, say, Tom Barkhuizen, who is directly for the front 4. You can have someone like Louis Sibley who can play midfield and at full-back. Like, you've got opportunities there with the extra number of players on the bench, and you even have the possibility of, if you're struggling for numbers for injuries or fitness reasons, you've got someone like Windass who can be on the bench or start a game, and if you need to make a sub for fitness reasons or an injury or what have you, he can go and play anywhere on the pitch pretty much. So for me, I think it would be a smart deal just to add to depth in specific areas. Do I think it's a deal Derby are looking at? I'm not 100% sure. Obviously, a player with his type of experience and who's proven that he's capable of playing at the level, I think is always a good option to look at. But obviously, we do know Paul Warne is looking more for players within the 23 to 29 age bracket. Now, at 30 years old, he's only a year out of it. But it's one of those where, is he going to be strict with it and stick within the brackets, or is he going to want to add some older players for the prime age players coming in? And that's going to be the big question that we're going to have to ask this season. Now, there is lots of talks going on. I've been getting a few pelters on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, for posting videos like this. But for me, as a person, I've always wanted to know who the players are that we're being linked with. And I felt that there's no one that really does this sort of content, no one that really does get to know me videos for players like this. And don't get me wrong, I completely understand we're only in May. A lot of these players won't be joining the football club, and that is completely fine. That doesn't change what I'm trying to do here. Now, I just want to be able to give people the opportunity to understand what type of player Derby are looking at. Now, obviously with Josh Windass and a lot of the players that we've seen so far over my videos in the past week or so, is a lot of them are versatile. They can play 5 or 6 different positions comfortably and have done so throughout their career. And all I want to do is provide something that I wish I had when I was growing up as a Derby County fan. Like, there's plenty of times when, like, you go back to January, a lot of people had no idea who Ibu Adams was. I made a video on him. It goes and gets, I think it's on 2,500 views. It got me 50 new subscribers. And obviously, I have this channel because I want to get views, I want to get subscribers, but at the end of the day, I want people to enjoy the content I'm doing, and I do think there's an audience for this type of content, and I think it's shown within the numbers that have been coming to the channel since starting posting videos like this from January up until now. And we will continue next season with the match previews and match day vlogs, match reviews, depending on if I'm at the game or not. And we will obviously be bringing in new content this year for the Championship and for League One, and we're going to try and do some content for England during the Euros. So I'm trying to keep up to date with everything that's going on and not miss a thing, really. So do make sure you click subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Let me know your thoughts on this link to Josh Windass down in the comments below. And if you haven't done so already, like the video, share it with all your friends, and I'll catch you in the next one. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.